The Deer Farming Channel is brought to you in part by Record Rack Deer and Elk Feeds. As a deer hunter, I want to know all I can about America's favorite big game animal. That's why I became a deer farmer. Without deer farms, we lose our greatest resource for research and whitetail management. With them, we gain more knowledge than ever before. Join me as we discover the truth about whitetails and meet those who work every day to preserve this great species for future generations. My name is Keith Warren, and this is Deer and Wildlife Stories. All right, I'm trying to look at him and trying to think, what on this deer would somebody not like? I mean, look at the tine length, look at the main beams, look at his spread and the brow tines. I mean, is there anything on this deer that a person wouldn't like? This is Big Stitch, folks, and on today's show, we're at T3 Whitetails. I'm excited to be back at T3 Whitetails. This is the second year in a row. You know, last year I came out here and the one thing that happened unforgettable was seeing Big Stitch. Big Stitch is truly a deer that when you see it, you will not forget him. And the cool thing about it is there were some Big Stitch yearlings that had a lot of promise. I mean, they look good. So this year, they're gonna be 2-year-olds, so I'm looking forward to seeing what they look like.
I'm John Scott Hueske with T3 Whitetails, located in Somerville, Texas. Our ranch is located approximately 35 miles from College Station, Texas. We currently have about 600 deer in our breeding facility. Here at T3 Whitetails, we're all about big, framey, typical deer. We want to be able to impact the genetics of your ranch. We sell stocker bucks to allow you to do so. We sell bred does. If you want to impact the genetics on your ranch, please contact us, we can help.
I travel all over the country, and being from Texas, all the people from outside of Texas are always asking me, hey, tell me about Big Stitch. Tell me about Big Stitch. What do you think? And Big Stitch is, I mean, you take one look at him and I mean, he's gonna be indelible. You can't forget that. And the cool thing is there are people breeding with him all over the country now. And the one thing that I found, for example, I go to Florida, and yes, in Florida they got big deer, and thanks to Big Stitch, they really got big deer because Mike Mansfield, I mean, we've got a show going on with him this year, went over there and said, who is that great big yearling? Who is he out of? Guess who? Big Stitch. The Deer Farming Channel is brought to you in part by New Dart, leading the industry in accuracy.
My goal here at the ranch is to make $1 million.
Oh yeah, I mean there's a bunch of them in here too. Oh my goodness, what is that buck's name?
That's Nightshade.
Nightshade. I ought to call him Lampshade. I mean, my gosh, I mean, look at that. Holy smokes, and how old is he?
He's 2 years old.
Wow. Okay, now, that deer right there at 2 years old, you know, we were out here last year and I don't remember seeing that deer as a yearling. Was he here?
Yes, sir, he was here.
Did he just blow up between a yearling and?
He blew up. I mean, just absolutely blew up.
Okay, so how wide do you think he is?
I'd say 32, 34 inches.
Yeah, he is, look at that. And then he's got just enough character stuff coming off of him that to me he is beautiful. But you can tell, look at his body. I mean, his body is lean, you know, he's young, and I wonder, what is his pedigree?
He's shadow over a dream buck granddaughter.
Okay. So when you folks, you hear shadow, instantly, I mean, I perk up, because shadow is like one of the anchor deer in our industry. Shadow's done a really, really good job. And so what are your plans with him?
You know, this year, we actually covered with him last year as a yearling.
Did you get any fawns?
We did get some fawns out of him.
All right, nice.
So I think we'll have a couple of yearlings to look at out of him next year. And we're going to use him this year as a cover, and we're going to collect semen on him this year. Okay,
I think that's pretty cool. You know, as far as collecting semen, here's what to get value in a deer. Okay, what we wind up doing to get value is you've got to see production-wise what they do, and so by turning him out and on some does and getting some fawns on the ground with him now, look at him at 2, and you know he's got fawns on the ground. By the time he hits 3, you know he's already going to be even bigger. He's going to supersize. But those little fawns are going to have their first set of antlers too. And so when they have their first set of antlers, now you can sit back and go, is he a producer or not?
That's exactly right.
Okay, and so what happens to get value in a deer, they want to be able to see what he produces. So that guy right there, I mean, he's got a lot on his head. He's got a great pedigree. And so that's, I'm kind of anxious to see what he does next year and what his little babies do next year too. But what did he look like last year?
You know, last year he was, you know, he was an 8-point.
Really?
He was good enough for us to cover with. Last year we laid all our best yearlings out. We scored them, looked at their pedigrees, and we took the 5 best yearlings we had and covered with them.
Wow. So, okay, you've got some fawns on the ground now. If somebody wanted to buy some fawns, you sell fawns?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. Get a hold of T3Whitetails.com and find out more information on the fawns, or find out information on the breeder bucks or anything else they got out here. But go to his website, T3Whitetails.com. Now, these other bucks in here, they all look to be 2 years old too, aren't they?
Absolutely.
Okay, is there any common denominator in these guys?
Yes, sir. All the red tags in this pen are big stitch 2-year-olds.
A lot of deer breeders, folks, do not breed yearling bucks. I'm just telling you that right now. I do. But there's a lot of them that don't, because they don't want to take the chance. They say it's iffy. But when you start taking a look at pedigrees and you look at what John said, you lay them out and you pick the best ones as far as visually, you pick the best ones that have the pedigree behind it, and you expose those to a limited number of does, you kind of get a year ahead on the competition, because you're actually able to see what they produce.
Absolutely. And that's exactly why we did it.
Well, I like these 2-year-olds. I mean, you got some real good 2-year-olds in here, but that buck right there, like I said, he ought to be called Lampshade. The Deer Farming Channel is brought to you in part by Record Rack Deer and Elk Feeds. Let me tell you about John Hueske. He's a big deer breeder, clearly. I mean, he's one of the biggest deer breeders. Well, he is the biggest deer breeder I've ever seen. But he also, I think his wife Tracy is probably the biggest cat breeder I've ever known, because there's cats everywhere. The one good thing about it is there are no mice. There's no doubt. I mean, I can look at him right now and know that has got to be Voodoo's magic.
That is Voodoo's magic.
Holy smokes, look at that deer. I mean, I look at the ads that you have. I mean, I see Big Stitch in the ad, and I see Voodoo's magic in the ad. And Big Stitch looks just the same. It's just bigger with more character. And yes, Voodoo's magic just takes your breath away. I mean, look at that. I mean, the deer's got a frame that just doesn't quit.
Oh, it's massive. Straight up typical, no down tines. And just a frame that is amazing. Absolutely amazing.
So how old is he now?
He's 3.
Oh my goodness. So, I mean, last year he was a beautiful 2-year-old.
Yes, sir.
And we got, y'all provided some video to us, because we didn't get any video when we were here. So you provided video of him at 2, and so I'm looking at this. Was really the first time I actually laid my eyes on him. And all I can say is just, wow.
Yes, sir.
I mean, the deer farmers are looking for what they call the wow factor, okay? And the wow factor is what you get when you look right there.
Absolutely, absolutely. When you drive up to the pen and Voodoo's magic comes up to you looking for a treat, you literally, your heart misses a beat. He's just so beautiful.
He is absolutely beautiful. Okay, score-wise, John, what did he score last year?
Last year he scored 198 7/8 typical, 205 gross.
Okay, and there's a lot of people that, well, there's a lot of deer that'll score better than that. Okay,
Absolutely.
But when you take a look at him, you say he is a typical deer.
That's exactly right.
Okay, he doesn't have any trash and flyers and junk and all that. That's all typical score, and he's beautiful. But he is so much bigger than that this year that I mean, I don't even want to guess what he scored this year. And really and truly, who cares? Because he's got the wow factor.
That's the thing, Keith. That deer literally blew up this year. He exceeded my expectations threefolds. He literally just absolutely blew up.
And looking at him, he's gentle, isn't he?
He is a gentle giant. My wife comes out here and feeds him grapes out of her hand. He's just the best natured deer you want to be around. He don't get excited, and he's just a joy. We're so happy to have Voodoo's magic, and we're so excited about him. I'm almost speechless.
Yes, Tracy will come out here and he will eat out of her hands. And no, that deer will never be hunted. We don't deer hunt in deer pens.
That's exactly right.
That deer exists to spread those genetics to other places that need to have good genetics. And so for people to say that we're hunting these deer in the pens, that's horse hockey. That doesn't happen.
No way.
Voodoo's magic will not get hunted. Big Stitch will not get hunted. These deer are breeder deer and they will not get hunted. So get that out of your head. Okay, well, folks, if y'all want more information about Voodoo's magic, Big Stitch, any of the operation out here at all, go to T3Whitetails.com and check it out. I mean, John is an easy guy to work with, and he would love to hear from you. The Deer Farming Channel is brought to you in part by New Dart, leading the industry in accuracy. Well, there's no doubt who that is. Good Lord, John, look how big he is. He looks beautiful this year.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so folks, what you're looking at, that's Big Stitch right there. That's a deer that last year I needed to almost go to my cardiologist after taking a look at him in person. That deer, I remember when you walked into the Nadifa show with him a couple of 3 years ago now, every single person walked following you when you had his rack. And
Absolutely.
And I don't know how old he was then, but how old is he now?
He's 6.
Good gosh almighty. I'm looking at that and going, okay, well, you can tell from the frame, he's still got that beautiful frame. And but this year, I mean, he's got lots more drops on him. What do you think that's from?
I think it's just age.
Yep.
You know, I think deer, as they get some age on them, a lot of times they'll start putting on those drops and start getting a little bit more non-typical, not non-typical if you want to call it that.
You know, I'm looking at the left side of him right there, and I mean, it's like the first drop, I mean, it's long like a big long G2. It's just going down, but his beams are good. How wide do you think he is this year?
I think Big Stitch will probably be 30 inches, 32 inches.
And folks, let me tell you, as I travel around the country, and I do a lot of deer farms up north. I mean, we go to Ohio and Pennsylvania, and a lot of these farmers up north are looking to bring the Texas influence into their herd. And the reason for that is they've seen that the Texas deer, the Texas look, is what they want to really get back up in that in their herd. And there's not a lot of deer with that look right there. When you look at him, matter of fact, he is so beautiful that, I mean, it is no wonder everybody wants that look. And so as far as semen goes, I know you've collected him and you've got semen available for him, right?
Absolutely. Okay,
let's talk about pedigree. All right, so I know that your deer, when you sell deer off your farm, they're all in the registry and you can show somebody what everybody is out of. Tell me, as far as Big Stitch goes, tell me about his pedigree.
Big Stitch is Stitches over a 7C's Big Boy daughter. 7C's Big Boy goes back to Lee Wheeler's bub line. And that bub line has been known to put lots of big frame own deer.
And looking at the Nadar pedigree, you can see how it goes back like that. Now, I will tell you this. There are people that in the business that get caught up in marketing of a deer, okay?
Yes, sir.
And I look at it and think, there's not many deer, in my opinion, that are more beautiful than that deer right there. I looked at him a couple of years ago and I thought, you know what, if I could just grow a deer 2/3 his size, I'd be thankful, because he's got everything that I want. But as far as marketability goes, I want to caution you, if you're a deer breeder, or you're going to be a deer breeder, don't get hung up about the people that are just marketing a certain line. I mean,
right.
they spend a lot of money making some deer famous, where in reality, there's some deer out there that if you took a look and you look at like Big Stitch right here, that deer right there, he's getting it done for people all over the place. It's just John isn't putting the marketing dollars behind him like other people are. And so that's what we're doing. I want to draw your attention to that. I mean, Big Stitch is a phenomenal producer. He's got the good blood to go with it. Just look at him. I mean, beautiful.
Absolutely. He's his offspring. We have several 2-year-olds here, and he's putting on that frame, and every one of his 2-year-olds is pretty much a straight up typical.
Okay, now as far as in Texas goes, if somebody anywhere in the country, if somebody wants to buy semen, they can go to T3Whitetails.com,
yes,
find out your phone number, get more information. It's a great website. I mean, if you go to it, take a look, you can find out a lot of good information. Let me ask you this: if somebody's got a doe, they don't want to inseminate, artificially inseminate, they want to bring it over here to be live covered by Big Stitch, would you do that?
Absolutely, absolutely. We had probably 15 what we call boarders here last year. They brought him here in October, and we put him in the pen with him, and he got it done.
Well, and see, that's just another good thing. So if you're in Texas and you don't want to artificially inseminate, you want the real deal. The way to get the real deal is get a hold of John. And again, your website information, your website address is what?
Is T3Whitetails.com.
When asked which buck at T3 Whitetails impresses me the most, it's hard to say. Big Stitch is beautiful, Nightshade as a 2-year-old is a standout, and Voodoo's magic has it all. Since the filming of today's episode at T3 Whitetails, John has sold his entire herd of deer. If you're interested in finding out more information though on the premier bucks, both Big Stitch and Voodoo's magic, that were featured on today's show, you can contact Rockstar Whitetails at 817-307-5424. If you have any questions or comments about the show, log on to my Facebook page and let me hear from you. I'm Keith Warren, and thanks for watching Deer and Wildlife Stories. What you're about to see is graphic in nature, so viewer discretion is advised. Last August, many of Texas's deer farmers were forced to kill hundreds of perfectly healthy deer in order to test them for chronic wasting disease. To date, approximately 600 deer have been killed, and the killing isn't over. What's worse is that out of all the deer that were killed, not a single one of them tested positive for chronic wasting disease. I don't know about you, but to me there's just something wrong with the picture when you start killing perfectly healthy deer to test them to make sure they're not sick with chronic wasting disease. Now, CWD has been around for over 50 years, and I'm a believer that CWD, it needs to be managed from science-based management rather than from a political agenda. And I think that we ought to learn from states that have been battling CWD for more than 50 years, and they themselves say that there's nothing they can do to manage it. What they need to do is just monitor it. So again, I think that we ought to base our CWD stuff all on science and not on a political agenda. If you'd like to find out more about chronic wasting disease, let me encourage you to go to the website cwdmyths.com.